Welcome to another Kings of War Battle Report. Game night, Dwarfs versus the Kingdoms of Men. 2,000 points, the scenario was kill. So, most of the time I have custom boxes that are made out of these baseball card boxes for each of my armies. And sometimes I'm in between making those boxes. And I had this box and it just had a bunch of stuff in it that I hardly ever use, like my chariots and some of my really old pikeman models that I had from way back in the wind. And then I had a brand new unit. I just finished this polearm unit and I threw them in there because I needed a place to store them temporarily. So I was looking down at the box and I said, you know what? I think I could make an army out of this, just this one box of stuff. I did supplement it. I've actually found a couple of more wizards to put in it that aren't painted, but I was not going to put unpainted ones out there. So anyway, so this is what I call the Scrapbox army. It's just made out of models that are in this box. So I hope you enjoy this army list. So yeah, the Scrapbox army is just the models in that box. So I had a full model count horde of pikemen. So what I did was I busted them up into a horde and a regiment of pikemen because I could use 24 for the horde and then use 12 for the regiment. And I have trays that Sean printed me that fit exactly that many models. And then I had another horde of just loose pikeman models. They were I painted them in the 70s, I think, so they look like crap. But when they're based and put on a stand, they actually don't look bad, especially in pictures. I mean, if you look at them up close, you'd probably vomit. But that's what I had. I had painted a horde of polearms last week and just finished the models. I had the models sitting on my desk for forever. I only had like 6 or 7 to finish up, so I finished those up. And I didn't have a box made yet for them to store, so I throw them in this box. It's just a nice storage place to keep the dust off. I had a troop of bowmen, and I've been using those actually. They were some old Bretonnian archers, and I had blue tacked them to a base. So I said, well, they're in the box, so I'll use those. And then I have some Polish wing lancers that I was using for medium cavalry or light cavalry in my Kingdoms of Men army, and they were in the box because they're multi-based. I don't really have a multi-base box yet where to save stuff. Most of mine save them as individual models, so they were in the box, so they go in the army. I also have a legion of chariots, and what these were Sean ran me off some robotic horses, and I put Empire Outriders on them and decided to make those into chariots, and that was at the end of second edition, and then of course they were nerfed into oblivion, and so they never were used. I mean, I've painted them, they're there. So I put all 6 models in and made a legion of chariots and gave them the brew of sharpness because I don't like hitting them for. Also in the box was my old Ram steam tank. So it became my mammoth. I had an assassin in a blister pack that I haven't ever painted, so I started working on him. I didn't really get him quite done for the game, but he was but he had enough colors on him you could tell that he was painted. I painted an old Reichsguard guy with a pistol, and he became the captain, and of course the 2 wizards. Now I had 2 wizards that were unpainted in the box, but I did not take time out yesterday and paint them and just grabbed 2 painted ones off the shelf. So that was the Scrapbox army, and it was just weird, a lot of fun. So speaking of cosmopolitan armies, this is his first 2,000 point game. So what we did is we brought all of his models, set them out on the tables, and then made a list out of them based on what he had. And he actually has more figures than this at home, but this is what he brought with me. So again, not an optimized list. It's just playing with the troops that you have. And but I mean, he had good stuff in it, so it's not that big a deal to say that. But I mean, we tried to optimize it as best we can with what he had. We start out with a horde of ironclad, a horde of bulwarkers, which I found out are pretty damn tough guys, with all their swings. A regiment of berserkers, a troop of iron guard, a regiment of Iron Watch rifles, 1 troop of crossbows, 1 troop of rangers, an earth elemental horde, a greater earth elemental, a flame belcher, a dwarf lord, a stone priest, a flame priest with the fireball upgrade and bane chant, and I think the last thing he had was an army standard bearer with the loot. So, so before I go on to deployment, I just want to point out something. If you look at Carl's army, he has full model count. Every single model is painted. That is amazing. I mean, for being a new player, but Carl is not a new player. Carl and I figured out that we've known each other for over 30 years and that we've both been collecting models that whole time. And what's funny is some of the models that I have in my army, the scrap army, are models that I had in the 70s before I knew Carl, which is really ironic. But anyway, it was really cool, to have his army out on the table with full model count. Everything was there. It's gorgeous. I think some of it's been painted by various people, but it doesn't matter. It all looks great. It looks there together. So let's see what happens with deployment. On my deployment, over on the extreme left bottom corner of this picture, my assassin is standing next to the woods. You can barely see him because he's an assassin. You're not supposed to see him. Right next to him, and there's a big building, is my Legion of Chariots with the Brew of Sharpness. And then I think I had two pikeman hordes in a row abreast each other. And then the pole arms, and then a regiment of pikemen over there to assist the pole arms. And then over in the woods I had the bowman troop and the fire wizard. The guy with the boomstick, I call him a fire wizard because that's what the model is. And then on the extreme left, I had the mammoth and my unit of knights. And the knights I put them there because when I saw him deploy, I figured you couldn't shoot at him with his stuff. And my plan was then to move up to the hill and then just turn. And whichever came around that hill, I was going to charge. So that was the plan for him anyway. Over here, he started out with the greater earth elemental and the earth elemental horde and the stone priest, which was not good for me because I had nothing over it really that could handle all that armor 6. I mean, I could hold them up with a pikeman seemingly forever since they hit on 4s, but it was just I had to figure out a plan quick to deal with those 2 armor 6 units. Then we had his unit of berserkers, his regiment of berserkers, and then I believe the next unit is his bulwarkers. Right in the very middle between the bulwarkers and the next horde is his flame belcher. Then we have the unit of ironclads, I think is what, no, the troop of the armor 6 guys, which I can't remember, Iron Guard. And they are there in between. And then on the very end is the unit of big horde of ironclads. And then over there, he actually deployed all the shooting. So he had his Rangers who scout into the woods over there, and then the unit of crossbows and a regiment of handgunners. I went and grabbed 10 of my figures. I was the one working the computer for the list, and I thought I'd clicked troop, but I'd clicked regiment, so I went and grabbed him 10 more models so that it looked right. So anyway, that's the deployment on both sides, and scenario was kill, so all we had to do was rush forward and start doing death to each other, and we'll just have to see how that goes. So I just want to show you the other end of the table again because, I mean, it's probably hard to see because on the other picture. But you can see down here my left side deployment. That is my Knights, a.k.a. the Winged Lancers. And then the Mammoth, which is my Ram steam tank. It doesn't have a turret on it or a gun. And then the troop of archers, which are old Bretonnian archers who are in the box. And then my Fire Wizard, which is an old Empire Fire Wizard, and he has the boomstick. Across the table, Carl has opposing them on this side. He has a troop of crossbows. He has a regiment of Iron Watch rifles, and that's just showing a troop. I would grab 10 models for him because I was the one that screwed that up. This should have been a troop probably. And then he has a troop of Rangers, and the Rangers have not moved into the scouting position yet, which they will do. They'll move into that woods and then start peppering my lines with accurate crossbow fire. So the Dwarfs got the first turn and moved forward. I know they don't look like they moved, but that's how Dwarfs play. They don't move really. They do move, but they move so slow it's hard to tell if they do anything. But anyway, all of his shooters moved up to get into range. Some of them have the pot shot rule, and they shot at my mammoth slash steam tank. They did 1 wound to him, which was just a lucky shot. But the Rangers did 2 wounds to my bow troop and damn near wavered them with a good roll. So I was lucky there that they survived or weren't wavered by the shots from those guys. So anyway, they are. That's the end of the turn. I mean, like I said, if you're playing dwarves, it's not going to be a maneuver game unless the guy has a lot of cavalry. And my turn is probably every bit as boring to watch. I did move the pikemen up and angle them behind the wall. In retrospect, I probably would have been better off just going over the wall because of really wasn't scared of anything that I mean, the things that could hurt them are not going to be hindered anyway, which is the elementals. So it didn't matter if I was over the wall or not. And I figured if those berserkers get in range, I'm going to charge them anyway. So maybe if I took it back again, I would the next turn move over the wall. But anyway, they were fine where they're at, protecting the flank of my army. The chariots just sat still and shot some archery shots into the berserkers. For some reason, I thought they were armor 3. They're armor 4, so they didn't. The archery was not very effective against them. But everything else in the middle just moved up. I don't know if you could see him. He's right in the middle of the line, but that's my captain. I totally forgot his captain ability, but I did not forget that he is rally and inspire, and he is just going to stand in the middle of the army and spread love all over the place as needed with his rally and inspire. So down here, you see I just moved the cavalry up and their max range and then pivoted to stay behind the hill. I think the Iron Watch rifles could still see them, but I would have cover. So, I mean, I wasn't totally invisible to them. But, I mean, being armor 5 and stuff, they're pretty resilient to everything except the Iron Watch rifles. And the Mammoth moved up close enough to get a charge in on those Rangers on the next turn. The Fire Wizard, I think, shot at the Iron Watch rifles, I think, and that's when we looked on the list and figured out, because I mean I did decent damage. I'm like, hey, this has a chance to waver them, and then Carl says, no, they're 14, 16. And I'm like, what? Then I realized they were a regiment that I had selected for him, not a troop. So that's when I think I went and got the models for him, so that it would be the right amount there, so that our pictures would look correct. So Carl's turn, he moved everything up again. The berserkers moved a little bit further because they're a little faster, and I also think he was trying to get in range because he has wild charge on him to maybe to get into something before I expect to have to deal with it. On the end over here, I had flown my assassin over. I was going to try to get back and get rid of the stone priest, who was the surge threat. And Carl just says to me, he says, is there any reason I can't just turn my greater earth elemental 90 degrees and walk towards your assassin and then surge into it? And I'm like, there ain't a damn thing wrong with that plan. So that's exactly what he did. So he hit there and hits him, and I was fortunate. I took 4 wounds and was wavered. That's what the orange dot is on him. But I had indomitable will, so I was going to be able to zing out of there with my superior speed and get away from the stupid thing. But when he said that, I was like, is there anything wrong? I said, no, it's absolutely a perfect plan, if you ask me. So yeah, my turn too. I went ahead and charged the Mammoth into the unit in the woods, the Rangers. The reason why is because I think I was up to like 7 wounds from shooting, because he had a really good volley that turn. After his guys had stopped moving, and then they opened up with the regiment of Iron Watch rifles, and I got to the point where I was like, okay, if I sit around here, I'm just going to get shot off the board, and he won't do anything. So I went ahead and just decided to try to take out the Rangers, because they hit on 4s, and I didn't really want him to start chipping at my infantry units, which are about to get into the fight. So that's what I did there. I'm pretty sure I broke through and killed the Rangers this time, but I'll have to see on the next picture. So yeah, his line had got a little close for comfort. The thing is I was waiting for him to clear that impassable, not impassable terrain, ready to clear that difficult terrain before I was going to charge with my chariots. Even though I could have charged literally on turn 1, there was no reason to have to go in there hindered. I had the bruise sharpness on him, but 20 hits for 4 is 10 against armor 6. and then you lose thunder. No, that was dumb. So this time I waited till this turn, and I had my Life Wizard, which is there with his Baneshant, and he reliably cast Baneshant onto the chariots as they hit the Earth Elemental Horde. The pikemen came over the wall and charged into the berserkers. And like I said, for some reason in my mind I thought berserkers had armor 3. So this is going to be a little bit of a grind match for a while. But on the other hand, I have his snare, which is going to really hurt his ability to hurt me. And he has no crushing, and I have armor 4. So this is just going to be a slap fest for a while, I'm pretty sure. So that's what happens here. With the Brew of Sharpness on the chariots, I have Thunder's Charge too, and now I have Crushing because of the Baneshant, and I one-shotted that damn horde of Earth Elementals. I've never seen anything one-shot a horde of Earth Elementals, but I one-shotted a horde of Earth Elementals for those chariots. Now, here's the problem. Where can I move? No matter where I go, I can't turn that big bus of it, so they're stuck basically there. I think the rest of the game, I don't think I can move them ever again. Because he is going to keep me from moving them. Because where I'm stuck, I mean, like I said, I can't even turn without being too close to one of his units or whatever. But yeah, that's the problem with that unit. It is not very good as far as maneuver. I mean, I would have went probably better off would have been 2-3-man units of chariots. But on the other hand, then I probably would have killed the Earth Elementals, and it was a huge point sink. But I've never got to use the unit, so I'll be damned if I mean, I'm going to make them stick, make them good if I'm going to do it. The pikemen were hindered. They did a couple of wounds to the slayers, but not too much. And I mean, I didn't expect much, even though 30 swings though, you have a pretty good chance. I probably did 4 or 5 wounds. I mean, it was just about average. So I don't have anything to complain about there. But one-shotting that horde, I was pretty happy about. I mean, I just didn't really expect that because I didn't really know what to do with all the armor 6 guys. Yeah, the Mammoth/Steam Tank did go ahead and destroy that unit of Rangers, and now I've just turned toward his line. I didn't do it. I didn't want to move fast because he hit me in the flank. But the thing is I was setting in such a position so that if he charges him in the front with his unit, that I have a flank charge from either that horde of pikemen that horde of polearms or the regiment of pikemen. I'm not sure which would have got there, but one of them would have been able to hit him in the flank. So really not going to have much choice of how to deal with him next turn. It's either charge and think you kill him, which is hindered, needing 5s, and then needing 5s again to wound, unless he Bane-Shanted him. So what a high chance that he would have killed him anyway, even if he had charged him. All right, so here you can see the breakthrough from the chariots. I did decide to overrun because I couldn't really turn. I might as well get close to something. You can't see him, but the Earth Elemental, Greater Earth Elemental, is behind the house there, and he's about to have some fun in my flanks, as they say. I rolled an amazing 1-inch overrun, so no, that wasn't very good. And so anyway, that was that. Probably Carl, if he needed to, probably could have backed the berserkers out and charged the chariots in the flank too, but I don't really think they're going to need help, since I'm pretty sure the warlord, the dwarf general, and the greater earth elemental are going to come in and have some fun chopping on them for a few turns. So in Carl's turn, the bulwarkers decide that they need to get into the fight, and they charge into my unit of pikemen. Now, chances of them hitting are very high because they're hindered, and they're fighting pikemen, which is also hard by itself. The flame belcher moved into the woods. This time he could actually see something to shoot. He was right behind the woods, and I told him just to stick the end of it into the woods, and now he could see the pikemen behind it and start hosing them. So really good weapon. It's just really short ranged. It's more like a rack and weapons team. I told him, I think I would base it like that, just kind of. It's an old classic GW one, with the big bellied furnace looking thing. So it's really cool looking model. So over on this flank, Carl just rotated the ironclad that were sitting there a little bit, so not to catch a flank from the knights or something. In future turns, he'd go ahead and get himself in a stable position. The troop of, I want to say they're Iron Guard, they moved up a little bit to help protect the flank too. Now, just a rookie mistake, and I didn't do it because I'm trying to Carl and I are learning. I'm trying to teach Carl the game, but you can see how that bend of that unit is there. That literally could have been a flank charge into that unit of ironclads, and I didn't. I mean, I see it now that, and it probably could have fit, the pikemen in the front and the other guys in the flank. I don't know how much room is there, but that's one of those mistakes that you have to really pay attention to as a beginner player, because it caught me by mistake. I mean, I thought, well, he's got like 4 millimeters he can charge in it. Well, that's all it takes in this game to charge somebody in the flank. So you have to be very aware of your lines, and very aware of not having any little gaps like that where people can charge you in the flank. So, I mean, I'm not good. I mean, like I said, we're playing a game. We're here to have fun, and I don't even know if I saw it during the game, but I see it now. And so the point being is just as a learning experience for anybody that's just starting the game. Don't do that. You should, either need to be flush, or the troop armor 6 guy should have been in front. So there's no way that anybody could have fit into that little crack. Anyway. So I just want you to note in this picture how that the Iron Watch rifles miraculously grew into 20 models on turn 3, because I went ahead and grabbed 10 out of my collection and put them in there so that the pictures in the unit would be. All right, so the fire belcher moved up and did a couple of wounds to the rightmost horde of pikemen. Didn't roll very well on that one, but I mean, now he's in the woods, he's stable. Next turn he's going to unleash hell upon me, on my lightly armored dudes that are there. So yeah, Dwarf went ahead and charges into the unit of chariots, doing 3 wounds. He had to turn his greater earth elemental all the way around and start marching it back, and then he surged him. I think the surge only went like 2 or 3 inches, so there was no way he was going to get 8. All those guys swinging together because of the hindered and stuff like that, and my ensnare, didn't really take very much damage to my pikeman unit this turn. Next turn, once everybody's kind of got their feet under them, it's going to be a different story, I fear. Just want to show you another angle. You can see the earth elemental moving forward. The stone priest is sitting there in the difficult terrain, which is good for him, because at some point in time I'm going to actually have to charge. I'll probably charge him with the chariots, even though I'm going into there. You can see my assassin is alive, and he is over there, or she, or whatever it is. We don't know. It's an assassin. You never know what sex they are. And there's nothing. So this is my turn 3. I had really no choice. I just had, because I was going to catch that elemental in the flank and the general again. There's nothing that I could do about it. So I went ahead and just charged his stone priest, who's in that rough terrain up there, and hoping that I kill him and overrun. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out some way to get the heck out of that corner, between that impassable terrain and that difficult terrain. Right here in the foreground, you see the little flame thing. I always use the flame markers to signify Bane chant, and the pikemen went off this turn and just destroyed the berserkers. I mean, they were utterly destroyed. The pikeman that had been injured by the flame belcher went ahead and charged into his bulwarkers, and now that wasn't going to be any big deal because I'm hindered this time, and so now I'm rolling a whole bunch of hits on 5s and a whole lot of to wound on 5. So nothing really is going to happen there. I mean, probably like 1 wound or 2. It's no big deal. Over on this flank, the brave captain sounded the charge, and the brave kingdoms of men rushed forward into the valiant dwarves. The assassin, you can see, sneak into the back of the flame belcher there. The pike horde went ahead. The polearm horde charged the troop of Iron Guard. I'm pretty sure that's what they're called. Over on the extreme left of the line, one of the pikeman regiment made a hindered charge into the ironclad, and as did the mammoth. Of course, he's got striders, so that's not a hindered charge for him. You can see over there that between my bows and my fire wizard, I did destroy the Iron Watch rifle regiment finally. So now the only shooting left are the crossbows there in that corner. So my counter battery fire was very effective to take them out. I think I bounced in every one of these melees. I think I even bounced. I'm pretty sure that when the assassin came in, one thing about some of these artillery pieces. In some armies, they have freaking armor 5. And so even though the assassin has a lot of attacks, hitting on a lot, it's armor 5, and they only have crushing 1. So that's going to make it very, that makes it hard to kill stuff like that. And then plus it's right in the middle of his lines. He's got Inspire around it. But Rolled Snake Eyes, though, that was pretty much the main reason why it stayed there. Sometimes you just got to post a picture. Here's the brave pikeman charging into the dwarf ironclad unit, and right alongside the mammoth, aka the Hammer of Middenland, approach, going in there to do some damage as well. Behind it is I am so jealous. That's one of the old dwarf king models. It's like a Slayer King. He has like a dragon cloak. That freaking model is amazing. Too bad I didn't get a hold of that one. The halberdiers, polearms went ahead and charged into that troop. I think I was hindered, so that probably did a lot squishy. But armor 6 is really good. Even a troop of those guys is. I've never really thought about using them in troops, but now that I've played with them a couple of times and played against Sean's placoderms, I'm really thinking that might be a centerpiece if I start playing dwarfs again, is to break up my regiment into a couple of troops like that, and just to have as just little spots to buttress the line, so that protect the flank of a unit or something like that. Nope, I didn't break that stupid stone priest. And on top of that, he had headstrong and just basically ignored it. So the dwarf general charged into the side of the chariots, and then the greater earth elemental whacked in there as well. I think we did something wrong here. I'm pretty sure we actually did do something wrong here. On the previous turn, my pikemen were engaged with the unit of bulwarkers, and when he did the countercharge, of course you can countercharge anybody you're engaged with, and so he didn't slid over. I'm not so sure that could work that way, but I still think he could have just no. I think maybe we did it wrong. So he probably should have just stayed engaged with the unit. Whichever way it was, one of those hordes was going to catch him in the flank on the next turn. So he might as well catch the one that's wounded already. So that's what's going to happen. But like I said, I'm pretty sure because of the way I was engaged with him, I don't really think he could have countercharged that unit of pikemen, because I wasn't even touching him at the time. So I never even fight in that melee because I killed this berserkers last time. I'm pretty sure that was not right, but it didn't really matter to me either way, because like I said, one way or the other, they're gonna get chopped in the flank on the next turn with 60 something pike attack. It didn't really matter to me which side did it. So there we go. So over on this flank, the ironclad's got the steam tank up to 10, which is a danger point for me. Everybody else just kind of chipped away fighting each other, because the Iron Belcher, because they rolled Snake Eyes, I think he went and shot somebody. Oh, he shot the pikemen that were in the woods there, since they weren't engaged anymore by the bulwarkers. So that's what happened in that spot. He's going to live. He might as well enjoy that, because next turn that assassin is going to turn them into spaghetti. So there we go. So yeah, the stone priest who had escaped death from chariots moved over and threw Bane Chant on the unit of bulwarkers, and I'm pretty sure that he couldn't do it now that I think about it. So I'm pretty sure that even though he recovers from it with headstrong, I don't know if headstrong undoes the disruption. I think he just undoes the waiver. So if that was the case, he really couldn't throw it. But playing a friendly game, we're not going to sit there and look up a lot of rules and play tiki tack. We're just trying to roll some dice and have and hang out with each other. So anyway, that's just something to look for in the future, because I've never really looked at it to see about. I think the dwarfs are like the only headstrong magic user. Maybe abyssal dwarfs are too. So I'll have to actually look that up and see if it does overcome the disruption. Alas, the mammoth passed. There he goes. He's down. He's down for the count and over in the casualty pile. He took a lot of damage in this game, from all the shooting and stuff, but finally got done in by the ironclad. So here the the troop of Iron Guard. I had only done a couple of wounds back to the into the big horde of polearms. And I don't know if you realize this, but that unit of polearms morphed from Midland polearms to Altdorf polearms. And the reason why is because Carl needed a tray, and I had a tray that those guys were in, so I gave him that tray to use. And then I put them back in their boxes. Well, then all of a sudden, when nobody else showed up to play, and I had to have a polearm horde again. So I went and just grabbed my Altdorf ones out of a box, and they have a tray already made for them. So I just stuck them out there. But those are old battle masters, and ones I don't use, but I use them for junk armies, just or even let the grandkids play with them because they're not going to hurt them because they're monopose and they're thick as crap. So the Earth Elemental and the General really didn't do that much damage to the chariots, but I have no place to. I can't even move. I'm so stuck right there. So I'm just going to have to just suck this up the rest of the game, I think. I mean, that's the issue with them, is that they're so long, and the flanks are so big. It's just really hard. All right, the Bane-Chanted Bulwarkers went off on the pikemen and got them up to 11 wounds. I was like, holy cow. That puts them on the edge, of that was a good bunch of swings to get them up to that damage point. And they just started out with just like a couple, and then all of a sudden, bam, they're up to 11. So that unit's in danger, is what I would call it anyway. I'm pretty sure I was in error about the damage taken by the to the Earth Elemental. They were up, that horde was up to 11, and also the horde, like you say, with the Bulwarkers were up to 11, and the Flamebelcher had got the pikeman that's in the woods there up to 6. So there's damage being thrown out here, and now we're going to have to see how I respond. So yeah, the knights have been hiding like girls the whole time. As you can see, my archers and the fire wizard had went ahead and taken out the crossbowmen, so now there is no range threat. So now these cowardly knights can come out and attack the fire priest, or whatever he's called, fire priest, and charge into him while he's hindered and everything. One of the things that I've noticed about playing dwarves and abyssal dwarves is their characters are tough. They have a little bit higher than morale, I guess, than normal, and then they have armor 5. So just charging a character isn't a foregone conclusion that you're going to blow through and go into the next ones. So that's exactly what happened. I think I whacked into that guy and bounced off of him. So, well, crap. Okay, my chariots are just stuck. I'm not sure in the rules if there's any way to unstuck them, but I'm pretty sure they're just stuck and they're just going to get chopped down. With the flank charge and the front charge from the pikemen, the Bulwarkers were wavered this turn. I'd done quite a bit of damage to them between both units. I mean, that was a lot of attacks. So they're up at, well, crap, they're at 17. And they still managed to stick around. They say a very, very tough unit to get rid of. So the assassin finally took out the Iron Belcher this turn, and turned himself to look toward that ASB over there, because he is a real pain in the butt throwing Bane Chant and inspiring all those high leadership dwarfs. Just a close up of the fight. That's just a lot of models fighting each other with pointy sticks. So yeah, the Bulwarkers just shrugged off the waver and charged into my unit of pikemen and destroyed them. And I told this to Sean this morning, that is the very first time I have ever lost a horde of pikemen in a battle from melee. I've lost them from being shot, but not from somebody just beating the crap out of them and knocking them down. So then they made a formation change to face up to the horde of pikemen that were on their flank. So those guys are going to have to hit them from the front next time. And on top of that, this turn you can see that the Greater Earth Elemental and the General managed to polish off the Chariot Horde at last. Like I said, this whole I couldn't figure out how to get them out of that. And I hope maybe some of you guys have some suggestions, but I just don't know how to get them. I mean, you had a mighty character and the elemental on both sides. So the only way I could really go was straight. I guess I could pivot through them to try to get somewhere, but going anywhere wouldn't have mattered because they're still. Okay, the Dwarf ASB used the loot to cast Bane Chant um, on his Iron Guard, and so that boosted the troops' attacks up, and they got the pole arms up to 9 really quick. So I mean, all of a sudden that was a really big turnaround. Over on the other side, the countercharge by the ironclad, I mean, they really didn't do very much. And I think maybe what I'd done was, instead of fighting them this last turn, I think I just backed out an inch so that they would have to make that hindered charge through the woods and then into the ensnare. That was very mean of me, but I thought it was a better idea because I wasn't going to hurt them. I mean, their armor and stuff is so good. So I thought I'll just hold them up for another turn. Maybe the knights can, finally finish off the flame priest. Yeah, it was in my turn that I executed the tactical withdrawal. Just backed up an inch and make them have to recharge me through all that garbage. The assassin now has swooped in to try to take out that dwarf ASB, who became very dangerous when he started Bane chanting that troop of Iron Guard. So the assassin does a great job and takes out the ASB this turn. The polearms had wavered the Iron Guard troop over on the. I must have shot something at those guys because they're up to 12 wounds over on the dwarf side. The reason they have a marker behind them is because they actually had shot their mastiffs at me, and I was trying to figure out why there was a marker. That was just a mark that they had already fired the mastiffs. I think they fired it at the Yep. So the bulwarkers finally shake it off. So now I've just turned. I backed up the pikeman a little bit further. I know it doesn't really do any good against the earth elemental, but the earth elemental, he's going to have 12 swings. He's going to hit on 5s, and so I'm not really worried about him since I've only down 6 wounds so far. So I'm pretty much safe from elemental hood. And speaking of nondescript, you can see the captain is just standing there with his pistol in the air, like, "Go guys, go guys!" I don't even charge him into fight or anything. Okay, so with the earth elemental stand there, I just went ahead and proactively charged him because I still had my life wizard, aka the Bane Chanter, over there to Bane Chant, and charged him into the greater earth elemental because, like I said, I figured he really couldn't hurt me. The general over there together, I still don't really think that I was going to lose them because it was already turn. I think it was already my turn 5, so that was so I just tried to make that. Because I mean, I thought eventually, if I could keep Bane Chant on there with 30 swings, I could eventually wear that guy down. And I did a lot of damage, but then I remembered that his morale is dash 19, so he wasn't going to go down anytime soon. So over here on the on my left flank, there was a giant collapse of all the dwarves. The troop finally bit it from the polearms, and then the unit of ironclad finally bit it. I think it was from the knights and the pikemen, but I don't really recall. The assassin, he just stood there watching the whole thing. But yeah, it was like just all of a sudden on turn 6, it just everything broke at once and died. So it was a win for the Kingdoms of Men and the Scrapbox army, and a great game with Carl, and so much fun. As I do after every battle, I try to put together my thoughts of how everything went. One of the things that I just want to point out is that some of the models that I have on the table are not very well painted, but they still look better than models that are not primed and not painted. So even though some of those models I painted when I was a kid in the 70s, they still, on as far as looking on the table and looking from a distance, look fine. And so I think, sometimes I think we beat ourselves up about, having, I mean, it's nice to have beautifully painted armies and stuff like that, but there's really, the baseline is if you get them out there and get some color on them, get the basing done, they're going to look great, at least in pictures, because, I'm not doing close-ups on these models to show them any good. And even those old pikemen that I hurriedly put pikes on them. I glued them to a multi-base. Didn't even flock them or anything, and they still looked fine in the pictures. They looked like a horde of pikemen, which they're supposed to. Lots of pointy spears sticking up. So I was really happy about how that they looked. Carl's army was gorgeous. I guess I'd never seen all of them before, and he has some rare models in there that that I mean, some of them I'm sincere. I mean, I'm not a dwarf. I have a dwarf army, yes, but he has some beautiful models. Some of the ones that were pretty rare back in the day, and they're very well painted. So really enjoyed seeing his army on the table. Full model count. I mean, that's a man's army right there, full model count, a lot of guys. But I pointed out to him that, I mean, most of the time I run 24-man hordes because of the bases that Sean makes me, and 12-man regiments. I said, but now if you've got those 40-man full model count units, you could just bust them down. Now you have enough models for a horde and a regiment. So, and then if you want to throw a few more models in, you probably have enough for a troop. So that's kind of neat that you can, kind of split those up. But, Carl's switching over from when we played Warhammer, and I don't think Carl and I have played a game together. It has to have been, I don't know, it might have been a decade ago. It's the last time we played, but it was great getting together with him, telling old stories, and as we call them, war stories from back in the day from all the games we've played together. And it was really, really a lot of fun. I felt bad that I beat up on him so much with my army, but it's a learning experience for him, and he hasn't really had a chance to go through his list yet and see what he likes. And I really like the fact that he took basically a little bit of everything, and that way he could test it out. And I took what I took because that's what was in the box. I really didn't have a plan, but what I did do was take what I had in there and make it into a coherent army. And there's really not a whole lot wrong that you can do, but with 2 hordes of pikes and a regiment of pikes as your starting point, as far as a nice baseline Kingdoms and Men army. So that was going to prove difficult to anybody just because of the ensnare, the leadership with indomitable will, and I had the captain on top of that standing behind him with rally and inspiring. It's almost evil to think about how hard those units are to knock out. I was disappointed in my cavalry. I held it in reserve the whole game, and then went there and finally got rid of the stone freeze and then killed that last unit of ironclads. But I mean, I really thought I could blow through that stupid fire priest and to get there. The archers and the fire mage, they wiped out everything on the flank by themselves just by shooting. It was he was shooting so much at the mammoth that he was ignoring them, and those are the guys that were taking him out. The chariots on the charge, they were pretty salty. I mean, I have to admit but I mean, I spent a lot of points on them to make them good. With the roof sharpness on them, and it's a legion. So I did a lot of points, but I just don't know what to do with them once you break through, if there's no room to turn that big, massive bus of models around. So I'll have to think about it. I mean, I've never used chariots in 3rd edition, so this was a total experiment for me. And I mean, I used some of their versatility. I shot at the berserkers a little bit, and then finally charged the earth elementals. But if they didn't have the brew of sharpness, they would have been useless. I mean, I don't know what they would have done. I mean, I could have done nothing over there to those earth elementals. And the fact that they kept the greater earth elemental and his general, which was, that's 300 points, captive for the whole game, trying to kill him. I mean, that actually works out pretty well. I mean, got rid of the earth elementals, held those 2 models out of the fight. Pretty good, really. I mean, is it perfect? No, but I mean, they didn't do bad. It was just that I guess maybe I could have deployed them maybe over on the shooting flank and then used them there, because they got pretty high nerve and they got a lot of swing. So they probably could have done a little bit better over on that flank than this one. But I just thought it was actually very fun to take just this random box of figures and turn them into an army, and had so much fun with the game just because of that. Because I mean, I was totally in a lighthearted mode. We've been playing some really tense, melt your face off games lately, and this one wasn't. I mean, it was just like, I don't care if I win or lose. I just want to roll dice and play games. So anyway, Carl, you want to play again anytime you want, brother, because that was a blast. And maybe over this week, I'll look at your army list again and maybe see what I can do to help you out with with some suggestions, to make your list maybe a little bit better. I liked the Iron Guard troop. I really think that would be something that I would fixate on, even if you're out of models. You could paint something else and call them Iron Guard. It doesn't matter to me. But I really think that might be a way to intersperse your line, to hold stuff up a little more, to take that initial charge, especially when you're confronted with hordes, because the hordes charging that troop are going to hang off both ends, just like my pole arms did. And so that gives you opportunities to either flank charge or just add troops to the melee and blow right through me. So anyway, I'll think about and make some suggestions this week, maybe a couple ideas for changes for that dwarf army. But like I said, plenty of models. It's pretty nice looking. I mean, it's really just a matter of changing things around and getting it the way that you want to play it, and in whatever style that you like. So anyway, thanks for watching the Battle Report. I want to say this is probably one of the most fun games I've had, not because I won, but just because, like I said, I was in a better mood playing with guys that I'm just going to accept what I have and do the best I can with it, and that was fun. And Carl getting to use all of his figures, and and he's doing the same thing. He's just experimenting, wanting to see what works, what don't work, and then figure it out from there. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.